Shalom, this is Reb Yoseph Schreiber coming to you from the land of Israel. This week is Parshas Devarim. It's the final discourses of Moshe. He is rallying the people to enter the land of Israel. And he says, recalls the incident of the spies, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to them, when they were at Mount Sinai, Rav Lechem, that it's plenty of time that you've been at this mountain. It's referring to Mount Sinai. And Rashi explains that it's an allusion to the accomplishments that the people had, receiving the Torah and setting up a Sanhedrin and building the temple. Other commentaries interpreted negatively, saying that the children of Israel fled from Mount Sinai like a little child flees from school. And that, so to speak, it wasn't, the reason that it seemed like a long time is because they were doing something unpleasant, something that they didn't like. Once the nation gets to Kadesh Barnea, it's right outside of Israel, short travel from Mount Sinai, they send out spies. And it's really a concealed rejection of the land of Israel. And the spies basically bring back a negative report. Now you can ask, what's wrong with sending out spies? In fact, Joshua sends out spies, Moshe sends out spies when he's going to conquer the last lands of Sichon and Og. There's a wrinkle, though, with Moshe, in that the spies themselves wind up capturing the last cities. And Rashi explains that they were not like the earlier spies, that they relied on the prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, the Sifri brings an explanation of the original commandment to capture Eretz Israel after the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says so to speak, says to the people that he isn't giving any estimates or explanations. When you enter the land, you will not need weapons. Just use a compass and divide it. The basic idea is that the inhabitants of Canaan, when they heard about the splitting of the Red Sea, that they simply melted away. All Israel needed to do was take possession of it, of the land. And what you see later on is, in fact, they do have to go to war. And when you look at the description of the borders of the Holy Land, or in Parshas Maseh, they're not anything like the borders that the people are exhorted to taking. They're supposed to take up to the Euphrates River. In fact, the borders in Masai do not even come close to the Euphrates River. So it would seem that because of this sin, because of this delay, that not only were they delayed for 40 years in the end, but they got less land than was originally intended for them. Concerning the war against Sichon and Og, what happens is there's no preparations made for those wars, basically. Sichon and Og just simply attack, and then they are totally destroyed and defeated. The Midrash Tanchuma talks about it, it says that in fact Sichon was very powerful. He was the most powerful king in the world, and that the two kings were more powerful than Pharaoh. What happened? That, so to speak, in heaven, HaKadosh Baruch Hu bent their administering the angel and put him before Moshe, and that was why Moshe could prevail over them so easily. So it says, what was the merit of Israel? What was the zechut of Israel? It says it was the zechut of Torah and the people who teach it. The idea of grabbing the moment and one miracle leading to another, or one mitzvah leading to another, is captured in a story in the Gemara about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who he was fleeing from the Romans. He lived in a cave for 12 years, only on water and carobs. And when he emerged from the cave, he emerged in peace, including with the Romans. And he was wiser when he left the cave than when he was originally went in. When he saw what had happened, he said, maybe I could perform another miracle, being that one has already happened. And at that point, he asked, is there something the town needs? And they said that the area he was in is an unmarked graveyard. It is unmarked graves, and it would be better if they could identify where the graves are. And at that point, an old man appeared, and he said that you can tell where the graves are because the ground is soft from the previous digging. The ground that's not the graves is still hard. So what they did was they promptly marked the graves, they checked the land, and they wound up doing a big service that the area was more pure. You knew where to avoid stepping on graves. The basic idea is that there are times when you just simply have to seize the moment, and where the enthusiasm and momentum of past accomplishments and the things that you have learned will allow you to be successful in other achievements. All you have to do is do them. In the moment you start making calculations and estimations and this, that, and the other thing, you can fritter away the moment, and in the end, you may only get a small amount of what you originally could have happened if you just did what was necessary at the time that you had the momentum. And this is what is meant or alluded to in Pirkei Avot, where it says that a person should run to a mitzvah, even a small one, because a mitzvah drags in its train another mitzvah, and that the reward of a mitzvah is another mitzvah. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.